Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television, where we keep you up to date with what is happening in the country presently, ranging from politics, security, education, health, and many other aspects that we feel are very important to bring to the table. And this afternoon, we'll be touching one or two issues which we think is very paramount, and you are invited to tune in by following us live on Facebook. Drop your comment, your opinion on any of the matters we will be discussing this afternoon. I am Sarah Elisha and I'll be doing it alongside Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sally.
All right, without any waste of time, we'll go straight and dive straight into the topic, starting with that of insecurity. We will recall that last week has been a very troubling time where we saw that some students were being kidnapped, and it's already almost 15 days since they were being kidnapped, and then they have next 5 days. If 1 billion naira is not being paid, the terrorists have promised to kill them, including the teachers. And it's really, really alarming and scary. We recall last 2 days or so, we saw when they made a demand of 40 trillion naira, hillocks, and together with motorcycles. And we're saying that they contacted one of the community leaders as a councillor over there, stating the fact that they are giving the government or the community to come up with 1 billion naira. And they say starting from the day these people were being kidnapped, and already they said the deadline for them to pay it is on the 27th or so.
Yeah.
And so we are having barely next 5 days or 7 days. If the government do not come up with this amount, they will execute the students according to them. Now we will record that the president has said no paying of ransom. We will record that Sheikh Gumi came out to state the fact that there should be a dialogue. The president should not follow in the trade of his predecessor. That's talking about Buhari, that they should dialogue. That is to show that, well, let's use a non-kinetic form. And I know he's not the first person saying the fact that we should have a different approach. But a number of people are saying that we need to use force. At the same time, we also have to, look into what to do. We remember on the paper early in the morning where we saw that the army are coming out to say that where these students are presently, it's actually very difficult to reach. And we actually raised some very important points, the fact that how were these terrorists able to get there. Now I was listening to the governor of Kaduna State, and during an interview he stated the fact that that these students are no longer in the state, they're in a neighboring state. Now questions should be, where in the state are they? Now a number of people have raised concern that Kaduna is not close to a border. You're not talking about somewhere like Zamfara, yeah, maybe Jigawa that is okay, it's close to Niger. Or are you talking somewhere like maybe Cross River where it's okay, they're sharing border with another country? No. We're talking about, when you look at the landmark where Kaduna is, it's sharing borders with other states. So that is to say that they're somewhere close. Now, where is that place? And how comes our radar cannot even pick? We're seeing where we can saying that we really need some of this good intelligence to be able to track them. Now that is to say that we are backward when it comes to the aspect of being able to trace where the students are, because people have raised concern, how are they able to move with this large number of students, and it's just from where the school is to where checkpoint it is just a 30-minute drive. How comes nothing happened all this? I think these are some of the points we have raised previously, and we also saw where the first lady is coming out to say that there should be a very, strong move coming from the government, because we are getting tired of the way this whole thing is. But then what approach can the government take beyond this? I mean, 1 billion naira, we know, is a huge amount of money. Most of the parents of these children are either farmers, so they don't even have any means of getting this money in a very short period of time. What can be done? Because already they have stated what they want to say, even though the number they use, they said, was not traceable. Remember where concern came about. What about the SIM linkage with the NIN? How comes these things cannot be traced? Now, these are a number of concerns that Nigerians are sharing, and I think it's very important that the government will come out and give clear answers concerning this situation.
I think the military knows where these children are. The challenge for them is how to go about a successful operation. If you use a kinetic force that is so open and out there, there will be casualties.
Of course.
And whether we like it or not, these terrorists will definitely use these children as defense. So we're going to see a lot of these children dying if the army does anything direct and then using force. However, you can still use force and there won't be any casualties as long as you have the right intelligence, the right tactics, and also the strategy to go about it. Now, why I'm saying that, I know that for sure the military know where the children are. You can't assume that it's not an easy place to access without knowing. So it means you know where they are, and that is why you have the information that is not an easy terrain for them to be, for you to access or move in there, as it will be for an operation, for a rescue operation. Secondly, it's very impossible to move over 287 children undetected, vehicle or by leg. And just as you said, no matter what, even fatigue will not let these children move fast if it's on leg. We're talking about children here. Even with adults, that much number, you will not be able to go far. And if it is transport, there's road channels. There's how far you can move in the bush is little, but most of it has to be on a channel that there's no how it can be detected. And except if our security agencies are trying to tell me that they don't have the right intelligence or the right sections within them. I don't know the military terms to describe or explain such, because one thing I know for sure is that be it the police, military, navy, air force, they're supposed to have trackers. Now these are people that can track something that has disappeared. These are people that if something goes missing, they'll be able to trace from what point it was moved, from what point was it last seen, and from what point could it possibly be. And I want to believe that they have trackers. And these trackers will be able to say, these children went this way, these children went this way. And with the look of the pace that they cover, if it's on leg that they are traveling, with the way they have covered this pace, they shouldn't be this far or that far or where they are. And I know that the military don't want to move out all the information they have, but with the statement of where they are, it already says that they do know where these kidnapped school children are. I believe the challenge for them now, this is where we would see if we have a capable military force or we are just in the hands of God. How this mission of rescuing these children turns out to be, because whether we like it or not, I know Sheikh Gumi just feels like a negotiator and all of that. It's even wrong using him as a negotiator. Who is he? Is he in the DSS? Is he a soldier? Is he a policeman? You accept you are part of the terrorists or the bandits, then you are the one negotiating on behalf of the bandits and the terrorists, and then our military forces have who is negotiating for them, working with them. But you can't just come from nowhere, claim to just be a middleman negotiating. From what point are you coming from to negotiate? And why do you keep insisting on negotiation when you know that this is clearly not a situation for negotiation? What are they negotiating? Please bring back our children. On what basis? We'll give you what? What is their demand? 1 billion. Based on what? What do we have? This 1 billion is not your own. So what do we have that is yours in our possession that we will negotiate with you, that if you release this children, that's what a negotiation is all about. When terrorists come to negotiate, we say, you have 30 of our members in your possession, and now we have 30 civilians, or we have 30 soldiers in our possession and all of that. And if you release 10 of our men in your custody, then we are going to release. That's what a negotiation. But now, what would they negotiate? Do you understand? Because who are these bandits? What are you negotiating about that Gumi keeps insisting on this negotiation?
You know, last year, sorry Rachel to cut you short, you know, last year we got to look into something like this.
Yeah.
Where we saw them saying that the government knows what they want.
No, they should say it.
Now, if they are saying the government knows what they want, that is to say there must be a hidden agreement somewhere that it's either the government is hiding from Nigerians. Now, if you listen closely to Gumi as well, before you complete that statement of yours, Rachel, if you listen closely, he made mention of the fact that the government is spending more on using of force than more on actually knowing how to get them. Now, there seems to be a coded, I think something is being coded, Rachel, the fact that they do not want Nigerians to know. Because if we are looking at this whole thing, he made mention of the fact that this military knows, or he claimed that they know where these terrorists are, just like you're saying, for them to say it's not easy for them to access. But the question right now, or the challenge right now, will be that Nigerians do not know who their foot soldiers are. They have people who tend to disguise themselves and look more like civilians, and no wonder, Rachel, when they kidnap a particular person, before you raise funds already, you hear, we heard that so amount of money was already raised for you. How comes? And you wonder, how did they know? It was during church service, for example, you actually pleaded with members to help you raise such amount of money, but then somehow it's out. So there seems to be something coded somewhere, and I think, just like we always mention the fact that our intelligence is failing, and that is why these people tend to think 3 or 4 times ahead of us. What is it the government is hiding? What negotiation did you have with them earlier? What bargain did you have with them earlier? Initially, a number of people have come out to say they were being used as political talks before, and right now they have gotten out of control, that the government no longer have control over them. And people have been asking questions, who is sponsoring them, Rachel? These people don't have the money to buy the ammunition we see them. So who is buying it for them? How do they get electricity to charge their phones? How do they get water to drink? All these supplies are supposed to be caught if we really want to get there. So there seems to be something coded somewhere, and except the government is ready to come out with a real answer to tell us what is happening. I tend to, because when you look at it, Nigerians tend to feel the government is hiding something. And we are seeing that these students will end up paying the price for something they know nothing about.
I mean, Stella, let's look at the terrorist group we have, and for sure listed as terrorist group not only in Nigeria but the world. We have the Boko Haram.
Sure.
They give you their agenda. They have a leader. They are not faceless. We remember Shekau. We remember his next in command. Even when he was killed, the next in command took over, said, this is our agenda. This is what we are fighting. This is what we are fighting for. And we will keep fighting for this until the government comes to our aid and listen to us. You see, you give room for negotiation, and you've made yourself clearly out there as a terrorist. We can talk about IPOB. They've given their agenda. We know their leaders. We know their spokesperson. We know first in command, second in command, and the hierarchy goes. And their reason behind sit at homes, their reason behind we will not accept this, we will not accept that, and go. Now, bandits, as far as I'm concerned, are making it look like the government knows what they want and there's something hidden. But I just see it as another tactic, pointing the fingers at the government to make us think that they are having an agenda other than what we think they are doing, other than they have. And as far as I'm concerned, it is terrorism in disguise, haven't yet brought out a structure, be it herdsmen, be it bandit, trying to displace people and take over people's land. This is how it is, be it when it comes to herdsmen, and then be it when it comes to bandits. Now, either way, herdsmen can decide to go and as kidnappers or bandits to be able to get funding for what they want, or operate the opposite way regardless. Now, if the government knows what they want, it will be out there because it shouldn't be a secret. This is what we are fighting for. This is what we want, and this is how it should be, and this is how it should go. But when you look at what they are doing, it doesn't even give them the room for negotiation. It doesn't even give them the room for, just as I said, what are you going to negotiate concerning? If you have your members, let's know who they are. Who is your leader? What is your agenda? Where are you driving at? Why did you kidnap these pupils other than whether you want money or what do you want to do with them and all of that. It's out there. When Boko Haram do their things, they come out and tell you the reason behind their
we don't even
attack
know
and
the
all
group
of
that
that.
is claiming. We don't know whether it's
Exactly.
Boko Haram because it's just the way the government
Sele.
just gave it the name bandit. So
Exactly.
right now, nobody have taken ownership that we're the ones that.
Exactly. So it puts them at a position of no negotiation. That's my point. And why I'm wondering why Gumi will keep insisting, because their activity doesn't put them in the position of negotiation whatsoever. So that shouldn't even be considered until they come out with an activity that puts them in a position for negotiation. Then the government should go about it the right way and not giving room for what shouldn't even be in the first place. The issue of security in Nigeria is disheartening. And no matter how we go about it, you just look at the many loopholes and you wonder what is the government doing about it.
Sure.
Because there is a way out if they are willing to put in the measures that will take us out of this problem. Regardless, you keep talking about the numbers. These people can't even be up to the 1% of the Nigerian population. And see how they are putting everybody in ransom. They are not even more than our military force. Neither are they more than our Navy, or are they more than the Air Force. They are not. And see how they are putting the whole country into ransom. And then you wonder, is this just a security threat, or are we just seeing politics taking form in different places in this? Because you can't just help but wonder. It's just disturbing on every level.
Very, very, Richard. And I think it's high time the government take the advice coming from various people. We've seen retired generals coming and retired army men. We've seen retired policemen, analysts, publics have come out to say, you know what, this is what we feel the government can do. If we say we cannot trace who the foot soldiers are, why do we have SS? Why do we have all these security agencies that also disguise themselves? Sometimes you walk with them and you're not even aware that this is the person that is sitting next to you. So I think that our government really, really needs to be proactive. You know, a number of people have mentioned the fact that some of the factors are poverty and also lack of education. I mean, if you're full richer, you don't have the need to risk your life, I'm saying, in the forest. If you're enlightened about what is supposed to be done, and that is why a number of people have been talking about, you know what, the government needs to do something to protect education and as well as provide food for people, because once you're full and once you're enlightened, you have no business getting involved in things that are not secure. So let's look for seeing what the government will do concerning empowerment and all of that to address this issue of insecurity. Now we're saying in relation to insecurity, the CBN, we're talking about food right now, the CBN have actually presented 100 billion naira worth of fertilizer to the federal government in a way to actually cushion the effects of the food and insecurity. We know that one of the basic reasons why we're having inflation is because of the food prices in the market. And so they have given over 2.15 million fertilizer that should be given to farmers, because we know that the rainy season is by the corner. So this is needed to be able to help in making sure that we have food basket in the nation and all of that. And I think in relation to what the president said during the launching of that program in Niger State concerning him getting some land and then trying to put an end to the herders-farmer clash, I think the land should be requested because we need to farm, not because the land is needed because of ranching. Rachel, if you're going to look at the percentage of people who are into ranching, or rather into keeping of livestock, and then those who are into talking about farming, you will know that those ones are more. And so it is needed that when the president was actually asking for land, he should be asking for land for planting of food, where we look at, okay, the north, what are you good in? You should produce this. The south, what are you good in? And then we'll be able to have something back. You remember when the president said there's nothing in the silo safe, nothing is in our reserves there, so there was no food to give out initially. But I hope with this initiative coming from the CBN, their own way of giving back to the society, let us see more food in the nation. I think it's really, really important that this fertilizer gets to the people that it's supposed to get to. That is the concern. Where we see that when the fertilizer is being given, certain people tend to fund it, keep it for themselves, sell it at a higher price, and then the people who are supposed to get it will not get it eventually. One person will be having over 10 bags, while another person is struggling to get even 1 or 2. So I think the government should be very smart on how they give out this fertilizer, because it's very important for food production in this country.
Well, I hope they share these fertilizers geopolitically, regions, and all of that to be able to spread across. Let it not be one of those things that is just out there and then people never get to have access to it or is monetized and all of that. Because when you look at 100 billion worth of fertilizers, it might sound big. But as usual, when you do the breakdown, you realize how small it is. We are looking at 2.1 million bags of fertilizers, and we're having a population of over 30% farmers. So, and it is simple to do the maths. If we are saying we are over 200 million in this country, and we have 30% of people farming in this country, not even just those that have farms at their backyard and all of that, virtually everybody farms. But even if we are to bring it down to, okay, who are those in for commercial farming, those who are the ones taking the major crops to the, and we bring it down to say, let's give it at 10% or 20, no, 20%, 10% will be too small. Let's go for 20%. So we are looking at a population, farmers over 20 million. And then imagine the hectares of land that they farm.
To cover.
This already says that only 2.5 million farmers can get one bag each. And depending on the size of their farm, this might only cover a plot.
It depends on the size of the bags. We don't even know the type of bag.
Is the 50 kg Idorama? Yes, exactly. So we know the size. That is the standard size of fertilizers and all of that, and the number that will go and round and all of that. So we are seeing that, well, if it is one bag to a farmer, we will have 2.5 million farmers only having access to it. However, we know that one bag to a farmer is not not going to work.
To the farmlands and
some farmers, depending on the size of their farm, will go away with more than one bag. But just as you said, Sele, it doesn't matter the number of the bags. It's if it gets to the people. At the end of the day, if we have 500,000 farmers, say we were able to access these 2.5 million bags, that is 500 farmers having at least an access to 4 to 5 bags, depending on the size of their farms, and it goes a long way. I believe that that's what matters, that it eventually get to people significantly. And then let's see others. This is the central bank doing its bid.
Very true.
Let's see what will come from the federal government, the state government also, and then before we will know it, farmers will have more access to this, and perhaps we will see a better price of food in the market come next harvest and when food should be available.
You really rounded up that point well by saying this is just the CBN giving their own quota. Now, what is the federal government willing to do? We know that recently we saw where some few states give out fertilizer, even though the bag sizes were those small bags, I think about 10 kgs. Those were the bags that were being shared. But then imagine if a farmer was able to get about 5 of those kind, it will really go a long way. And then let's see what local government and even NGOs and individuals can do to also contribute to that. If everybody does that, you could see that we are really moving forward. What the president is saying about exporting food, soon we'll start doing that if only we give it the direction. But then at the same time, make sure the farmlands are safe for the farmers to go back and actually use this fertilizer. If not, that will be work done zero. Now let us round it up with saying that Mele Kyari said in the next 2 weeks, that's by April, the Port Harcourt refinery will start production. Already 450,000 barrels of oil have been sent there, so we'll be seeing them working on it. Already he said all the machineries have been put in place. The refinery in Kaduna should start working by December. They're already looking into the Warri refinery and all of that. But Richard, this is not the first time. Last year we heard that it was supposed to start functioning by December. And then we're in March, and right now they're telling us in April. Now my concern is this is long overdue. Of course, am I happy to soon start? Of course I'm happy, because soon we'll be seeing that we are not relying only on Dangote refinery right now to be working on it. But then when we see Port Harcourt working, Kaduna working, Warri working, then we are looking into refining our own oil here and then having total monopoly of how we use other resources that can be taken out of the crude oil. Now, hope it will not be one of those things. These are concerns coming from Nigeria. We saw the student loan that was supposed to kick off yesterday has been postponed.
Yeah.
How sure Nigerians that by April on the dot will see that work will start in the Port Harcourt refinery? These are questions because a lot of people that are depending on it. We make mention of the fact that money have been already put into these refineries long before now, yet nothing comes out of it. So it's more like we're just sinking our money in the ground that has nothing to give back to the society. Now, concerns are coming from Nigeria. How shall we to start working that 2 weeks? And then other refineries, we see Kaduna December, when we worry start working on other things. These are concerns. I remember this is one of the things even Labour was talking about in relation to their wage and other things as well.
I think Mele Kyari made it very clear and precise that it's only the mechanical part that is ready. So I don't think delivery or supply or distribution is going to start anytime soon. We should also know that 450,000, as it might sound, is not much when it comes to crude oil and the need, because it's not just the PMS that will be gotten out of it. We're looking at diesel, we're looking at other products that will be gotten out of it. Exactly. So he made it clear that, you know what, we have the mechanical part ready. There are some testing that have started on the crude oil, some regulatory process and all of that for the crude oil, which is what will kickstart in 2 weeks time for sure. Then before they move on to the Kaduna refinery in December and put on also the mechanical part of it. It already tells you that if it's just the mechanical part, there are many other parts of production that need to be put in place. So it's also to let Nigerians know that this 2 weeks, so it's not that crude oil will be coming out of that refinery. We should also make that balance. Is that production, some tests will begin to start on the crude oil, some other activities around the processing of this crude oil and all of that, what will be able to be obtained and all of that, because the renovation of the refinery is not yet done completely. There are still some part that is not functioning. There are still other things that needs to be put in place. And he also said concerning the December set date that it was actually ready, but there's just a little bit setback and all of that, and then we see ourselves here.
Rachel,
for
you
example,
know that's the problem when you are not certain about a particular thing and then you are hasty to just tell Nigeria. Remember yesterday we made mention of time frame, and where we say government not taking its time to follow the process, and they just want to start flying all of a sudden, and then eventually you crash and then we're back to square one again.
So I mean for now it's just taking Kyari by his word.
Sure.
There's nothing more to that us just waiting and seeing, okay, you know what, let's see the mechanical production taking place. We want to see that for some reason these 450,000 barrels are in process. Let's know that some part of our refinery is functioning. And then with time, we will be able to see that we have moved to the next level. It's all about the work being put in. It's not magic. Nigeria is not just going to turn. We consume millions of liters of crude oil every day. We have a long way to go to meeting up to our own daily consumption only. We have a long way to go to meeting up to our daily consumption. Talk more of before we get to the point of exporting. But the problem and the challenge Nigerians have been having was, why have that such consistency or work not been put 10 years ago, 15 years ago? We could have been somewhere by now. So I just hope that this will be the start of something new. That 10 years from now, we will get to the point where we produce and consume solely what the oil that we want in this country without importation, and then all we have to worry about is probably dealing and facing the exportation of crude oil, and then eventually maybe 15 years later we can now start exporting the refined oil out of the country. Let's always give a realistic date. I want Nigerians to be realistic with their expectation. I know we are used to politicians coming to tell us lies and saying they will do this and do that. Then when they enter the office, they will start telling you it's not magic. Why did we believe them in the first place? It's not going to be magic. Growth is all about consistency. It's not about giant steps. It's about taking those little steps consistently, and then before you know it, you've made headway, and then you are where you didn't even know you could get because you were consistent.
Well, Rachel, I hope that beyond us even having, we'll have job opportunities for our graduates.
Yes.
You can't go and be studying petrochemical engineering in the university. You and I know that there will be no place for you out there in Nigeria except you're leaving the country. So we're looking forward to seeing all of that as well. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being
You're welcome, Fele.
And thank you also to our viewers for keeping this moment with us again on Nigeria Now. Until we come next week, please do have a great weekend ahead. Bye.